Makeaway Church. As always, you need to make sure you have a Bible on you, a notepad and a pen to write with, and please reflect on these questions as we go through them today. What is your name, where are you from, and what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Ben. I'm from Adelaide, but originally from the Barossa, and I'm currently a fourth year student in engineering and computer science.
My name is Bethany. I am from Murray Bridge originally, lived in Bundaberg, lived in Victoria, but now I'm back in Murray Bridge, and I am a first year student at Australian Lutheran College studying ministry and theology.
My name's Matthew. I'm from Adelaide and I'm currently studying primary school teaching.
My name's Oscar. I'm from Berry and I just work at Coles in the service department. I'm a supervisor there. I just passed my 5-year mark actually. Got my little badge and I lost a job at school.
My name is Nathan Werner. I'm from Berry in the Riverland and I work at Coles and I'm studying some theology and that sort of thing.
Beautiful.
Sure. I'm Josh and I am the worship director for CLW Riverland.
Beautiful. So whereabouts are you from and what do you do?
I'm from Adelaide, originally from Loxton, and I bring the worship team together, sort of figure out what music we're going to be playing on our camp and issue practices, figure out which readings and Bible verses we'll be doing on camp and bring worship together.
What is your passion?
It's a pretty broad question. Like, I'm passionate about a lot of things. I mean, I love playing music on like all sorts of different instruments. I love coding. I love being around people and seeing people excited about things.
Seek the Lord. That's obviously a big passion of mine. To show others, who Christ is and what He's about.
I'm passionate about all the blessings God's given us: food, sport. Absolutely love my sport and food. Being outdoors, being with friends and family, and being able to be a vessel for God's love and to bring the gospel to as many people as possible.
One of my passions is in relationships. It's something that's sort of been a big theme in my life. I've got autism and I grew up with very little skill in the area of interpersonal communication, connection and whatnot. So being able to improve my relationships with other people and my relationship with God has been a really important part in my life.
I'm interested in mental health and psychology and that sort of thing, and I want to be able to use that in a ministry setting and work out how to integrate those and be sort of caring for people and be also sharing the gospel through that.
So I study journalism and I really like writing and English and that sort of stuff. It's always been a bit of a passion, and I really want to take that into, I think the media field lacks a lot of Christian influence, and that's something that I'd really like to take into that with me.
What inspired you to be a CLW leader?
Yeah, so I went on CLW camps since I was old enough to go. I've been going on Light Zone CLW, which is now Port Hugh CLW, and whichever other name that it's gone by. I've gone on Novo, I've gone on Riverland, I've gone on just whatever I can. So I've always been involved with these camps and always just really loved going on. So I highlight my year. So I turned 18, turned into an adult, and wanted to keep camp going. Give that back to future generations to be able to still come on camp.
I think it flows from my passion to show people who Christ is and what He's about, and really to enable people to have experiences where Christ can be preached. Yeah.
Well, I'd been on a few camps as a camper, and I thought they were just so amazingly awesome and fun. I guess initially it was just like I didn't want to stop going to camp. But since then, I think last year was my 10th CLW, so over a decade now. I'm getting really old. It's gone from just being something that I enjoy sort of receiving to something that I really enjoy being able to give back.
I haven't been a CLW leader yet.
You haven't?
No.
Well, why not?
Well, because I took a gap year and worked at Tandara Lutheran Camp, in which I was a leader on 100 plus camps, and so I was able to serve the Lord by feeding people, cleaning their rooms, and taking them on hikes, teaching them archery, putting them on high ropes, and encouraging them to jump off. I guess I've got a lot of experience in that sense, but I can't wait to be a CLW leader one day.
Sure. So what inspired you then to take part in that, was it Tandara camp?
Yes.
Yeah. What brought you to that?
Wanting to just take a break from study was probably my first and foremost thought, but also to sort of develop who I am, what my faith means to me, who I am without high school people around, who I am without my family around, and so I was able to get my foundations for who I am and who I am as God's child.
Going to CLW and it being really fun and wanting to help other people have that, and also wanting to keep having fun because it's really fun being a leader.
So I was attending CLW camps from a young age and JC Life before that, and my involvement on those camps really was a great experience, and I really enjoyed my time in that environment and learnt a lot from those leaders, and really wanted to give that back to passionate young Christians when I grew up, and here I am.
What has made the foundations of your faith?
Again, it's a really deep question that probably could be a very long answer, but the shortest summarization of it is something to the effect of a combination of like an academic rationalization of like the sort of the key tenets of Christianity and like the key factors that you kind of go like, if this is probably right, then the rest of it's probably right too, and there's enough of that. There's something to look into, combined with just the experience that you can find in Christian community, like when people are passionately on fire for this, like when people are really into this, like there's something there, like there's undeniably something more there. That's not just like people gathering and singing songs. It's like there's an experience to it that's got to be something more.
So just I guess throughout my childhood, having parents that grew up, I guess I grew up in a Christian household, so just having parents that paved the way for my faith, and obviously God, working heavily through that. Yeah.
Where did your faith start? Like, what's your foundation for it?
Well, I guess I could always come back to my baptism and then confirmation, where I took my faith up personally. I guess CLW really helped me understand what it means for my faith to be my own. I'd also have to say, growing up in a Christian family with my brothers and my mum and dad have given me a strong foundation. Also my grandparents, both sides regular attending, and just their faith through their life, and even in the face of death, just being so overjoyed by God's love and how that's affected me in my life too.
Oh, I don't know, would you say...
Do you want to think about that one for a bit?
When you say foundations, what
As
are
in,
you...
like, what has given you sort of the strength and courage in your faith, in a way? So, like, I'd say for me, like, going to CLW was a great thing. Seeing both my brothers and my parents both raised me in a very Christian home. Christian school really helped as well. My grandpa was fantastic and absolute, just soldier until the day he died, and made friends everywhere he went, and that was like, just proved to me that like, this is real sort of thing. Like that he would be one of my foundations. That's an example, but yeah.
Okay, cool, yeah. Okay. I would say my dad was like a big part of it. He's always been really into like engaging kids with the gospel and that sort of thing. Also, definitely CLW and those sorts of camps. Also, just there's lots of sort of programs like Metamorphosis as well.
Yes.
I went to Albury in New South Wales and did the Frontier program there, and just have had a lot of influences in my life. And in general, I'm just really passionate about the idea of sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What are your hopes for the kids who come on CLW?
They have a great time. Straight up, they have a great time that they get to experience just all that the community of Christianity has to offer.
That they can have experience where they can see Christ and see Him in His full form.
My hope for campers would be to receive a similar experience that I had when I was a camper, is to be able to enjoy camps as much as possible, to make lots of friends and to really create those foundations in their faith where they can make it their own and maybe one day inspire others to also go on CLWs or to start their own journey on their own faith.
Well, hopefully they'll love it as much as I always have, and it will be a really good place where they can grow their faith. I know a lot of kids don't really have that place at home, so hopefully that we can be basically a really good place to help these people build a foundation and also to grow what they may already have, and build connections to strengthen and nurture their relationships.
My hopes would be that they would, get to know God more, and that it wouldn't just be a thing on the back burner for them and like for them to get excited about when they get to CLW, but they'd also be bringing that back with them to their school and sharing it with their friends and basing their lives around the values and living in love of God.
My hope for the kids that come on CLW, I think coming on campus is a really fun and energetic experience, but it also gives you an opportunity to reflect with God in a different environment to what you might at church or at home. And so my hope is that the kids can come to a different environment and just be given the opportunity to reflect on their own faith and to learn new things from others to take home with them, and to insert that into their own homes and churches and communities.
How has COVID-19 helped you grow in your faith?
It hasn't. Arguably, in terms of most of my life, it's been pretty much business as usual because all my uni stuff's online anyway. It affected me personally because I wasn't able to spend time with the people that I care about. So, with my foundation being based on this community with other people, hasn't helped my faith in that way.
Yeah, interesting one. Obviously, it's allowed me to have a bit more time to get in the Word and just be able to spend time in the Word, and probably to value things more, and what Christ has given us. Yeah.
For me, honestly, because I work in a supermarket, it's been mostly business as usual. So nothing too different there in terms of my faith journey.
I feel like it's being at home, I've had more time to sort of figure out like routines and stuff like that, like writing or reading the Bible. Also, there's a young adult group that I helped run that like went onto Discord because like we weren't able to meet in person for a time, and that was just really good. We've had just been close to as a community and learning about God together and sort of thing.
COVID-19 has given me an opportunity to sort of just settle down and go, right, what's important to me, what can I do in my spare time, like what's my passion, and I guess with that I found a lot of time just to sit in God's Word, also a good time to catch up on a lot of uni, that was helpful, but also with uni being ministry and theology, just being able to really dive in and think about it beyond the assignments, but what it means for me and what it means for the people around me.
COVID's given me a lot of patience, I suppose. It's very back and forth. Things seem good and then they don't, and life is a lot like that, with its ups and downs and its storms and sunshine every now and then. But I think the most important thing is that it's a reminder that God's always in control no matter what happens, and this might be some big thing that we're seeing around the world right now, but we know that in the beginning God knew even COVID-19 was going to happen and that He's got everything under control.
What in Isaiah chapter 51 verses 1 to 6 stood out to you?
I read it 2 or 3 times, and the first few times I was just like, it just seems like a really bland verse from Isaiah. It doesn't seem like there's much there. But I read it the 4th time, 5th time, just going back over it. And what I've come up with so far is that it seems to talk about where you find your hope, where you find your grounding. It talks about people of Zion, like God's people, His kingdom in some senses, and looking back to that, looking back to your father Abraham, your mother Sarah, and like looking back to your origins, like where do you really find yourself? Like where do you justify yourself? Where do you find your center? For me, that's always been in joy and in love of people, of family, of friends, of the world around me, of the things that I'm passionate about. And so Isaiah 51 comes across, or at least those first few verses come across as sort of this call to remember what it is that you stand for, and that hope that makes life worth living, that hope that makes you a person worth being around, worth really expressing who you are to people, is found in God.
I think the first part of the verse, talking about how you who pursue righteousness, you who seek the Lord, look to the rock you were hewn from, that we should look to the Lord and look to His word, and that's what satisfies us.
I like the part of the end where it's talking about God's promise of His everlasting salvation and righteousness.
I liked the idea of thinking back about our past and about how God has led us, and not just thinking about the present, because things can seem really bleak in the present and it can seem like God's not there, but when we look back to our past, we can see the way that He has helped us.
What stood out mostly to me is the joy that we have that we're going to receive salvation. Like, despite what's happening now, like we don't know when the world's going to end, but it's not something to be afraid of. That we can look at back and appreciate where we've come from, and we have joy that it doesn't matter what happens tomorrow, because tomorrow's not promised, but you can live in the joy that Jesus has won for us salvation.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.